Hello, welcome to my Dresden File vlogs. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bookbird, and I know I've maybe acquired a few more subscribers to my channel since starting out these vlogs. These are my Dresden File vlogs where I do full spoilers for every book that I read in this series. I try to use the clues given in the books to solve the crime or solve the mystery along with Dresden. So if you have not read Blood Rites and plan to, you can save this video and come back once you have read it. Or if you don't care about spoilers and you don't care about reading this series, then go ahead and spoil yourself, I guess. I'd just like to give context to this before you go into it thinking I'm gonna do it non-spoiler. But without further ado, let's get into the vlog. So it's been a while, but I think it's time to continue my investigating with Dresden with Blood Rites. So Donut Notebook still here. I have a few more pages left before we can retire the Donut Notebook. So far, I have gotten to chapter 7, got basically the premise for this book, and we're involving vampires again. We are doing a favor for Thomas, who is a white court vampire that we met in previous books. He has asked Dresden to help his friend, who is an adult movie producer that seems to have this curse following him where his actresses are having extreme death situations. They assume it's a curse, and we are hired to figure out how to dispel this curse and who has casted this curse on this movie producer. And Dresden has acquired a puppy from the job he was doing at the start, where he was saving puppies and rescuing them for a Tibetan monk. So we have a random new pet right now that the one puppy followed him home and alerted him to a vampire attack before it happened. The puppy reacted to the vampire before he did. So Dresden has another animal companion besides just Mr. So right now I'm unsure how I'm going to like this book based on the fact that Dresden is helping this adult filmmaker. Basically, we are sending a thirsty Dresden, a single man, into a water park where he can't drink the water because it's chlorinated. That whole premise, I'm not sure I'm gonna enjoy. If it had been just a regular movie producer, I feel like I would have enjoyed that more as a theater kid. Like, just to have a regular movie producer to make it more extreme of a movie producer, I don't exactly like that idea, but I'll see. Maybe my initial thoughts going in will be different by the time I get to the end. I'm unsure because this contains vampires and that element, so I'm not quite sure I'm going to enjoy this book as much. I kind of hope we involve fae magic because I enjoyed Summer Night so much that I want the fae realm back. I don't know. I'm hoping some sort of intertwining is going to happen, but we'll see. So far, like I said, I'm not too far into it. I got the basic premise for this, and I have been spoiled on the big reveal about Thomas at the end of this book, because I happened to read the first sentence of the synopsis for a book later on in the series, so I accidentally spoiled myself for that big reveal in this book, but I don't know exactly how that's figured out, so it's not like I'm fully spoiled. I'm just only partially spoiled to what Dresden uncovers about Thomas. So going in, I do already know that twist and that thing to figure out, but we'll see if maybe it gives clues throughout this that I could have picked up on or not. I'm going to continue on reading Blood Rites, and I'll give you my thoughts to different clues that I pick up on and things that could lead to the person who put this curse on this movie producer, and also everything that has to deal with the vampires, because we're hunting down the Black Court vampires that appeared in Chicago. Check in with you when I have an update. Chapter 11 update. So Dresden has his first day on his undercover job at the film studio. He meets a couple different people on this first day. Right away, there's a hostile actor named Bobby that seems to immediately be very aggressive towards Dresden. So we don't know what that's about yet, but I'm sure something is setting him off and making him have that kind of attitude. We meet Joanne, who helps set up the microphones and the lights and stuff, so basically all the backstage stuff, which I actually did for live theater, not for film. And we learn from her while Dresden is helping her set everything up that she kind of has this tryst with Trixie, one of the actresses, who is kind of this high maintenance actress and kind of gets what she wants, and sounds like she isn't told no a whole lot, and she gets to arrive on set whenever she feels like it. She gets to do drugs, and then the rest of the cast seem to think that it's also okay to do those things. So that's why Joanne does not like Trixie. We, however, never actually meet Trixie yet, so she's a character we'll eventually meet, I think. We then get disrupted because Giselle, another actress, gets attacked while in the shower, and she gets cut up with the shards of glass from the shower, and light electric current that makes the water conduct electricity. So we get that attack, and the glass cuts the side of her face. It leads me to think, because of a conversation later on with Emma, we'll talk about Emma in a second, she says that basically, like, that blemish, or that if that leaves a scar, that's going to end her acting career, having that disfigure her face, basically. So that seems to be kind of an underlying motive for these attacks, that if these women also maybe they don't die, but they're disfigured, if maybe that's also a tactic behind these attacks, because we find out that these attacks aren't directed towards Arturo, the film director, but they seem to be only on his actresses. And so Emma is one that we meet on the way out when everyone's leaving after this attack, that she's described as having green eyes and red hair. And from Summer Night, like I mentioned, the Fae Summer Court has those same features. And I don't know if I'm just adding this in because I want the Fae to be involved and have some fairies along with vampires, but I feel like Emma has a connection to the Summer Court. I may be totally off, but I feel like those details, I know that Dresden seems to give a lot of details about women in general, but this also is one woman that he doesn't, it's a different description, because he's not looking at her in his thirsty Dresden way, that he seems to only describe like basic features of her and how she seems really nice and like good-natured and stuff. And previously in these chapters I've read, he wasn't taking Joanne off the suspect list because you can get tricked by a nice and kind attitude. And so I feel like we can't fully trust Emma, even though she's a mom and she seems to be kind and nice according to Dresden, that she has this warm nature about her, and I feel like that warmness might come from Summer. If I'm completely wrong on this theory by the end, I'll probably be upset. But if I'm spot on, I will feel vindicated. And we also have Silverlight, which is the company that Arturo left. And he has this weird contract agreement where he can use some of the actors from that company without it breaking their contracts with the company, so that the actors and actresses can still go back to Silverlight or stay with Arturo. So there's a possibility that someone from the company has cast this curse, but I still think it has to do with kind of similar to that production company. I feel like it has to do with the actors and actresses, and I think someone from the cast is involved because of the mention of the disfigurement and how now Giselle probably, if she survives after the hospital, she probably won't be able to act in these films anymore. So I feel like there's a motive to take out these actors and actresses. And we haven't met Trixie yet, and so she is still a suspect, I think, even though we haven't met her yet, because I feel like it's within this group of actors that we will find are our curse caster, and so that's where I'm going with that so far. And then after Dresden gets to his office, we meet Kincaid, which is he is a mercenary that Dresden then hires to help with the Black Court vampire infestation that's happening. And so he will pay Kincaid in exchange for his services, basically. And I'm pretty sure this is the first we're meeting this character of Kincaid. He may have been mentioned in other books, but I don't think we actually met him. So that's another new character now added into this world. But that is as far as I've gotten so far, and I will let you know my other suspicions when I have them. Update for right before chapter 23. We have found out a good amount of information in the last chapters that I read. We learn that Dresden was lied to by Thomas to take on this job, that Laura, his vampire sister, is one of the stars in this film. And the youngest sister he has, Inari, it also works as kind of a backstage also for this film. So there's something more going on with the vampires being involved, which me going in already knew that vampires being involved meant more stuff that I didn't really care to read about, because in the past that's been content-wise I didn't really care for when it surrounded the vampires. But through this discovery, then there becomes this fight between Laura and Thomas, and Thomas gets shot, and some of the vampires from the Black Court show up, and before Thomas can be moved to safety by Dresden, he has to make a truce with Laura to battle the Black Court before dealing with their sibling rivalry. And we discover that the Black Court is actually the ones who are controlling this curse towards the actresses and stuff involved with this film. And that makes me think that the ones targeted are actually vampires from the White Court, maybe, and that's why they specifically have been targeted. Dresden goes back to Laura's mansion, or the Black Court house, gets involved there, and Justine, because Thomas is so like the hunger, because the hunger in him is so severe, the gunshot wasn't the thing that was going to kill him. So he ended up, so Justine basically sacrificed herself to make sure Thomas stayed alive. And so that becomes a new issue between Dresden and Thomas. And so they get into this argument, and then Thomas decides to reveal to Dresden that he is his half brother. And this is the part that I mentioned I already got spoiled about because it spells it out in one of the later synopsis descriptions for other books, which is kind of annoying. I know you're not supposed to read ahead in synopsis for books, but when I start adding stuff that I buy to Goodreads, I have lists for the books I buy, both physical and ebook. So in order to make sure I put those on those lists, and that stops me from rebuying a book I already have, I need to update that list. And through doing that, I read the first sentence, so this part was actually spoiled for me. But Dresden doesn't believe him right away, and they do a soul gaze in which Dresden gets to talk to his mom, and it confirms it. Both of them share the same mother, and so that makes even the relationships around his mom and things she did as this powerful witch, what kind of relationships she had, we're kind of figuring out the backstory to his mom more. So I'm thinking that all of this book probably has to do with vampires. I don't think we're going to have a Fae crossover like I want. I'm starting to think that's maybe less of a possibility, but that reveal came pretty quickly. I thought we would be waiting until the end of this book to even get that reveal. So that appearing sooner means then it's going to get pretty crazy probably for the rest of the book, and we're going to discover other things. So main target suspect right now is just the Black Court, and why they would be targeting this filming studio, if it's because there's white court vampires involved, or is there this battle going on between the courts of vampires that we don't know about because we were so focused on this wizard white council war with them, that there's infighting within the vampires as well. We already knew there was fighting in between the Fae courts, so I don't know if just everybody's fighting and nobody's happy with each other, and we're just getting magical wars as well, that between the types of monsters and magical creatures, they have their own disputes that they're trying to settle. But right now, I don't know that I really have anything to go off of. And I also think that we're getting into a territory with how Jim Butcher is writing that we are getting more reveals than we are clues to those reveals, because this whole Thomas thing, unless if I go back and reread and there's little things in the first books that hint to it. These are kind of things that I don't know if by this book Jim Butcher was reforming how he was going to tackle this series with it doing so well, that we're just starting now to lay pieces for the rest of the series. So I don't have any new suspects yet, but I'm still trying to piece this together. We may just avalanche into something completely different that I won't even be able to have suspects anymore. So I will just give you an update when I feel like another update is needed. So I stopped at chapter 36. If I had just read one more chapter, I would have learned our accomplice for the curse attacking the women of this film, and that would be Trixie, who is the third ex-wife of Arturo. And so she is working with someone else that she was able to cast this curse with the help of someone else. And she decided to have this vengeance because there's a mysterious soon to be fourth wife, a fiance who Arturo loves, and there's no name to this mysterious woman. So the whole reason behind this curse was to basically take out every woman around Arturo to then finally take out this mysterious fiance. And after this revelation and a whole thing happens where Emma gets to be the victim of this curse and Dresden has to flee because everything surrounding it made it look like it was his fault once again. And so he has to run away, and he decides it's now that he has to take out Mavra and the Black Court vampire nest because he's going to be the next target for this curse that he has narrowed down to being a specific time every night. And so he wants to take out these vampires before the curse can take out him, and him not be able to do that, plus solve this whole curse thing completely. Ebenezer shows up to also help with this attack on the nest. So we have Murphy, Ebenezer, and then Kincaid to help Dresden take out this vampire nest that Bob narrowed down to a homeless shelter. So everyone goes in, clears that out with the whole battle with Mavra, and Mavra does end up killed, but a lot of them end up hurt or maimed, or in Dresden's case, his hands get scarred and charred and burnt. And for Kincaid, he gets pretty beat up too, but everyone manages to get away. We learn there's some kind of backstory to Kincaid and Ebenezer because when they first meet for this whole thing, they want to kill each other. And so then that leads into this revelation where Ebenezer has to tell Dresden the truth about his life. And basically, Ebenezer has lied to him since he was a boy, and Dresden has looked up to Ebenezer as his teacher, and finally realizing that he's lied about a lot of things. We find out that Ebenezer is actually an assassin for the White Court, and that's why Dresden was put under his watch, basically, and to basically take Dresden out if he showed signs of being bad and corrupted and evil with all the power that he does have. We have a big revelation with that, and now we have these new problems between Ebenezer and Dresden, and Ebenezer also tells Dresden that his mother actually didn't die in childbirth, that she was killed by the same type of curse that Dresden is investigating, that Wraith, the Black Court, or the White Court leader, or he's called the White King. He is kind of immune to death curses as well, which is why he was not killed after killing Dresden's mother. So we can now see why Dresden is a target for Wraith. And Dresden puzzles out with Murphy's help that Wraith is targeting Arturo because he can't control Arturo, and he wants to basically take over the market of adult films because the White Court vampires can so easily manipulate and seduce and everything, so they can take over this industry and basically for their own means of power to take this industry over. So Wraith is trying to start a monopoly on this type of filmmaking. So that is why he agreed to help this Trixie, the ex-wife, to take out the women around Arturo, because he wants to either take out the person that he loves and use that to be able to manipulate Arturo again, or to completely demoralize Arturo and make him quit the filmmaking business completely. And so the reason they can't control Arturo is because this is one weapon against the White Court vampires, is that if you are in love with someone, you're not going to be seduced as easily. So that kind of makes sense for why Wraith actually went after Dresden's mom, because his mom fell in love with Dresden's dad. So if Wraith couldn't control her anymore, I think he chose to kill her rather than, probably sort of a jealousy because he couldn't have control over her anymore. I have about 3 hours left in the audiobook, and so I will probably finish the book today. I hope I can do a final thoughts so I can get this vlog up sooner rather than later, but I will come back to you at the end of the book. Also, I only have like 2 pages left in the donut notebook. This is the last video you will see. I have a needy cat on my lap, but I am editing this vlog before I continued on to the last 3 hours, but I want to get a new prediction in. Listening back to myself while editing, I got to rehear my notes that some of the first people we meet at the filmmaking studio, I have a prediction now that Joanne is this mysterious fourth future wife. Joanne is the one that Arturo actually loves. She's the one that should have been the target this whole time, and I hope that she's safe right now, but I feel like either Wraith is gonna discover she's actually the one he needs to take out and going to use her to lure Dresden into something, or yeah, that's just my prediction considering how long she's worked for Arturo and how she had such a hateful relationship with Trixie. That's my prediction before reading these. Before getting to the end, I wanted to put in that. It's currently thunderstorming outside. It's hard to tell because it's still bright back there. If you hear thunder, then yes, you heard thunder. I have finished Blood Rites, and not a whole lot different from what we expected happened, but I will summarize some key points that will probably come into play in the future of this series. So we have the big final battle against Wraith. We sort of make a deal with Laura to help. It's kind of a bet on who she'll side with by the end. So then we also have Murphy as the sidekick, which Murphy has grown on me in this book now that she knows everything, and I think that was my problem with the first few books, is that she almost threw a fit against Dresden while Dresden wasn't telling her things. So I think I like it much better that she knows and it gets to be a part of things now. So we discover through these end chapters that even though Dresden's mom's death curse didn't kill Wraith, it still caused him to basically lose his incubus powers. So since his mother's death, he hasn't actually been as powerful as he once was. And we also know that Joan, I think it's Joan instead of Joanne, like I said, based on the audiobook, that she is the fourth wife of Arturo. So I was right when I started connecting the dots, re-listening back to myself talking. We also know that Dresden goes to see a doctor and his hand won't fully heal. The human doctor suggests he amputates and gets basically a fake limb, fake hand, but Dresden is not going to do that. And we found out later that on his hand is a fallen angel sigil. So that's something that probably is good to note for the future. We learn that Inari and Bobby are gonna run away to California, so Inari has been free from the family and will know what her family is about, because part of the deal with Laura is Dresden wanted her to tell Inari the complete truth about the family. I finally remembered where Kincaid came from, that he's connected to Ivy from the previous book, and that I should have maybe not taken the break that I did between book 5 and 6, because I feel like I would have picked up on where I had heard the name before had I jumped straight into this book. And also the whole fallen angel part, I think I would have picked up clues on faster, but at least it's pointed out by the end of this book. And Kincaid tells Dresden that Mavra probably isn't dead, that it seemed too easy to kill her, that she probably used a decoy, and so we still have to worry about the queen of the Black Court vampires. And the puppy is now named Mouse, and Mouse is gonna be a moose. So looking forward to having Mouse and Mr. as animal companions from now on. As Thomas now will be living with Dresden because he basically got banished by the White Court because Laura is now in charge. They didn't end up killing Wraith since he's already not as powerful. She took over and is in charge of the White Court. Dresden does make a deal with Laura that if at any time either one of them decides to break their truce, that they'll come out and say it before they attack, which is good based on the fact that there's still an impending vampire White Council war and everything. My final thoughts on the book in general. Book 5, the reason why I took a break is because I didn't really enjoy that one. And I feel like I enjoyed that book, book 5, more than I enjoyed this one. Just based on the fact of we have Michael in that book, and Michael is one of my favorite characters, and just the holy swords in general are kind of one of my favorite things too. We didn't delve into the Fae like I wanted to at the beginning of this book, but I think the other magic system of this whole series that intrigues me is the holy swords and the fallen angels and stuff. I feel like that's, besides the Fae realm, I like that, and I don't necessarily enjoy the vampires because of like I said before, the content that the books always get into when you're involving the vampires, I don't enjoy as much. I do like the pieces that we learn in this book. I like that we get to know that Thomas is a half-brother, and that going forward he's going to be closer to Dresden and we'll see him more probably. We get Murphy as more of a sidekick to help Dresden. We got a puppy. It wasn't all bad, but I don't know that I think this might have drop to the bottom of the series so far for me. I like where we're going with this series. I probably will be picking up the next book sooner rather than taking a couple months break like I did over the summer, and I'm ready to keep going with this series. So I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog. If you are new to my channel and you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe so you can see the next vlogs for the series that I do, and also all the other content I make. And also leave a like on this video if you enjoyed going through blood rites with me. I hope to see everyone in my next video.